Good evening. Tonight is the Plan Commission meeting. It is Tuesday, July 25th. The time is 7 p.m. First item on the agenda is the roll call. I am Mayor Kim Smith. I am present. Leanne Stokes.
Here.
Jared Holter.
Here.
Jan Brock.
Present.
Tom Smith.
Here.
Eric Archer.
Here.
Bill Lethan.
Here.
Very good. We are all in attendance. Item 2, consideration and action on the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Now second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Eric Archer. It's been seconded by Tom Smith to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The minutes are approved. Item 3 is public input. If anyone from the public would like to address the Plan Commission this evening, now is the time to do so. Please begin by stating your name and your address and limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. Would anybody like to address the Plan Commission this evening? Second call, if anyone would like to address the Plan Commission. Third and final call for anyone wishing to address the Plan Commission this evening. Not seeing or hearing anyone, public input is now closed. And we will continue on with consideration and possible action on the following items. Item 4 is a public hearing. This is for the conditional use permit application to remove 6 antennas and 3 remote radio units and replace with 6 antennas, 2 remote radio units, and 1 ray cap unit, as well as other improvements to the existing telecommunications tower and ground equipment located at 1033 2nd Avenue Southwest. This is tax parcel ID number 18-939-0, and the applicant is Falk and Foster US Cellular and 2GFJ LLP. I'll ask first if anyone would like to speak in favor. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this conditional use permit, now is the time to do so. Second call for anyone wishing to speak in favor. Third and final call for anyone wishing to speak in favor. That part of the public hearing is now closed, and I'll open it up for anyone who would like to speak against this conditional use permit. Second call for anyone wishing to speak against. Third and final call for anyone wishing to speak against this conditional use permit. Not seeing or hearing anyone, I'll turn this over to Katie Aspenson to give us a brief recap on the item.
Thank you, Mayor. This CUP is to allow US Cellular to modify their existing structure. Included in your packet is the project plan set and the application for a conditional use permit. It's a 118-foot tall monopole, and as stated previously, with their intention to remove and replace antennas, remote radio units, and a ray cap unit, as well as additional improvements to the tower. The structural analysis report prepared by Edge Consulting Engineers was performed in accordance with the TIA 222-G standard, and the results show that the existing tower foundation is structurally able to handle the proposed improvements, provided the required enhancements are installed as noted in the report. Telecommunication structures and towers are permitted only by conditional use permit as stated in section 13.02.22 per the principal uses table 13.02.22-1 and pursuant to standards set forth in section 13.13.05.22. The city has no basis for the denial of a conditional use permit, but has found a basis to impose the following conditions, which I will read into the record, as well as the substantial evidence. Condition number 1, owner developer shall pay all fees and have all plans reviewed and approved by the city prior to obtaining a building permit. Owner developer must have all conditions satisfied and improvements installed per approved plans prior to issuance of occupancy permits. Substantial evidence. This condition provides notice to the owner developer that they are to follow procedure for orderly development in the city of Onalaska in order to promote the health, safety, welfare of the city. Condition number 2. All conditions run with the land and are binding upon the original developer and all heirs, successors, and assigns so long as the conditional use is being actively used. Substantial evidence. This condition acknowledges and provides public notice of the term and puts the owner developer and future owners on notice that they are bound by the conditions and they can continue the use as long as they follow the conditions and actively use the conditional use. Condition number 3. The owner developer shall abide by the city's ordinances, unified development code, and building code requirements as amended. Substantial evidence. This condition assures that the owner developer understands that they must follow the city's Unified Development Code and Building Code, which they are required to follow in every way, and that as they are receiving the benefit of being allowed to have a use that is not within the standards of the city's zoning code, failure to follow city ordinances may result in loss of their conditional use permit. Condition number 4, the conditional use permit shall be reviewed every 5 years to ensure continued use. Substantial evidence. This shifts the burden to the owner of the property to provide proof that the use is active and continuing. Ensuring that the existing permits are still valid and being properly used ensures compliance with the city's procedures, ordinances, and promotes interaction and communication with the city, which further orderly development and the health, safety, welfare of the city. Action requested this evening is as a public hearing has been held. Testimony based on substantial evidence from the public should be listened to and considered before deciding on the requested conditional use permit application. Only where no reasonable conditions could exist to allow the conditional use may a conditional use permit be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that said, I'll turn this matter over to the Plan Commission. If we could get a motion on the floor.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use application to remove 6 antennas and 3 remote radio units and replace them with 6 antennas and 2 RRUs and 1 RACAP as proposed in the request by US Cellular.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Bill Lethan. It's been seconded by Leanne Stokes. Bill, you said your motion was as described. Does that include the 4 conditions?
Yes.
Do you understand it, Leanne? Is it including the 4 conditions? Okay, is there any discussion on this item?
I just have a question, Katie. Are these bigger than the current ones? Or are they about the same, or do you know?
I believe they're approximately the same size. It's just that they have different components
They just
within
look
them.
Like they're huge, but I guess, I mean, we don't have any control over that as long as they fall within their guidelines and
Correct.
they must, so, okay. Just seems like they're bigger, but I was just curious.
I
Okay.
think it's because it's kind of a.
Yeah, it's close up.
Close
They
up.
just, they just look big. Yeah, they look big. Okay, I was just curious. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? The motion on the floor is to approve with 4 conditions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 5 is a special exception application to the sign code to allow 2 new freestanding entrance signs to replace existing signage in the same locations without the required 5 feet setback at the Onalaska Manufactured Mobile Home Park. This is tax parcel ID number 18-807-0, and the applicant is the Lake Onalaska, Wisconsin MHC LLC. Katie, could you give us a brief summary of this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Lake Onalaska Mobile Home Park today has 2 entrance signs that are advertising the community. One is located along State Highway 35 and the other is along Troy Street in the center between the 2 entrances to the park off of Troy Street. The existing signs are considered non-conforming as they do not meet the required 5-foot setbacks from the parcels. They're looking to remove the existing signs and install 2 new signs in the same location. The size of the signs that are being proposed are allowed via the sign ordinance. All of their sign components are again in conformance with the sign code. Specifically, according to section 14.01.34.E.1, the minimum required distance from parcel lines, all ground freestanding sign, which these signs are considered, shall be placed a minimum of 5 feet from all parcel boundaries. The applicant also noted to potentially include ground lighting that would be sky facing in order to illuminate the signage. So included in the packet are the different 4 review criteria focusing on what provisions of the code are not being in compliance. In this case, it's our ordinance requires a 5-foot setback and they're looking for a 0-foot setback. The special conditions, circumstances, or characteristics of the land per the applicant and the information included in the packet. Due to the location of the actual mobile homes, as well as the existing location of the signs, that it would be a burden on the residents and infringe on the space that's used by Lake Onalaska residents if the signs were installed with the proper 5-foot setback. Again, the particular burden in the one along State Highway 35, the sign would require that the existing screen hedge be removed, and it would have to go further back into the driveway of the one applicant, prohibiting the use of that by the particular resident who lives there. And the second is that it would be infringing in a rear yard and a side yard of 2 other mobile home park residents that currently live next to the sign that's in existence today. The request is that we want to, if we approve these, we want to give the minimum amount of deviation from the code. They're requesting to waive the 5-foot setback in entirety in order to install the signs directly on the parcel line. If the special exception were to be approved by the Plan Commission, the city recommends 3 conditions of approval. The first is that a sign permit would be required for each sign prior to being installed. The second is that it be a minimum of a 6-inch setback from the parcel line in order to ensure that the entire footprint of the sign and the sign face itself is located on private property. And number 3, that any new lighting that is installed as it's allowed via the code not be skyward facing, but be downcast and shielded in order to prevent glare on any mobile home community member resident who would potentially be impacted by any light if it were sky facing as opposed to being downcast and shielded, which is required by our code. The city does not have any documentation related to the original installation of these signs, so I cannot tell you when they went in. I can tell you that the mobile home park over the last number of 5 to 7 years have repeatedly come back and asked to upgrade these signs. And we have not had an opportunity to allow them to do so until with our new sign code and the ability of a special exception. So this is their only avenue to update the signs that are considered legacy signs and are grandfathered in today as non-conforming signs. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Katie. What is the pleasure of the commission? Would you like to put a motion on the floor for discussion?
I'll make a motion that we allow the special exception application to the sign code to allow the two freestanding entrance signs to replace the existing signage at the same location without the required 5-foot setbacks at the Lake Onalaska manufactured mobile home park with the 3 requirements stated.
I second that.
I do have a question though. Are the signs roughly the new sign is the same size?
Okay, let's restate the motion here. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the special exception with 3 conditions. The motion was made by Tom Smith and it was seconded by Leanne Stokes. Okay, Bill, you have the floor.
Okay, I was wondering if I'm wondering if the new signs are the same size more or less.
They are roughly the same size. However, what they are proposing is directly allowed within the code. So they could actually go larger if they wanted to, and they are choosing to not. And also to note, they could have up to 4 signs that are directing people into the residence based on the fact that they're on a corner, but they are only requesting to do 2.
Do you know if they're going to be lit up? They're going to be kind of like the newer ones, or is it just going to be like what they have?
Like a digital sign?
You know?
The intent is not to have a digital sign. The lighting is included in the packet. Let's see if I can tell you what page.
The second to the last one.
So I've seen a couple variations of this drawing. Sometimes the lights are included and the other time they were not included. So I don't know if they're fully intending on doing lighting. So that's why I made sure that the condition as it read is if they were to do lighting, it is to be downcast and shielded,
But they're not,
which is,
they're not gonna be the digital kind.
nope, it would literally be like a little spotlight that would, you can attach it to the top or to the side or do something in order that it doesn't go up skyward.
Okay, thank you.
And if they don't want to do it, then they don't get to have lighting. That's basically the intent.
That's good. All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? We'll go to Jared first.
I just agree with the staff recommendation. We should have at least 6 inches off the public right of way. Just to make sure it's not on the public right of way. And as part of the sign permit, we'll probably require them to get a surveyor to verify where the property line is at. So that way we know that they won't be on the public right of way, but I heard that's all I got to add.
I thought it said it did have to be 6 inches.
Yes, that's why I'm confirming that I am in agreement that it would be
Oh, I
minimum
thought you
6
said you
inches
were
away.
disagreeing.
No,
with
no,
that.
I
Okay.
am in agreement with 6 inches.
Okay, just making sure I understood. Thank you. Okay, Eric?
Just procedurally looking at the criteria. So one of number 3, burden is not self-created. Could it not be argued that it is? It's the developer who built this site in the way that it is. Is that not their burden that they're facing this problem?
Yes, it could be argued that, however, this is a new owner. So the people who likely installed the sign are not this particular owner. It was a past owner that they're dealing with what they had.
Does the fact of burdenship transfer as owners do, or does it stay across ownership?
It's up to the plan commission to decide if they would like to waive the criteria or not.
I see. Thank you. And secondly, the 5 foot just seems to me like such a little amount of space. So just that little deviation puts these signs into hedges and into yards. Wouldn't, as a new board member, I think I can say that for a little bit longer. Don't the setbacks build in such a way that a construction wouldn't be allowed to happen within a 5 foot setback that the signs are required to be? Shouldn't they stack backwards that way? Does that make sense? They're already building with inside the setback, the hedges within that 5 foot setback that we're seeking. Is that allowed where that could happen and overlap, or should that not happen in the first place?
Screens can be up to the property line. It's considered landscaping and buffering, and we usually actually have those starting at the property
I
line.
see.
So we would rather protect that for the neighborhood,
Sure.
which is why staff specifically support the location in that particular area.
So that friction point can occur that can be out there several times.
Yes.
I see, I
Mhm.
understand. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, good questions. You can be the new member for like 10 years. So You're in good shape, right, Jan?
You can use that excuse.
Yeah, you got to last a long time, Eric.
No matter how long
Okay,
it is,
do you have a question, Jan? And then we'll go to,
Like these signs, do they sit, I'm just asking this generally, do people in a manufactured home park, do they own the lot, or is the entire property owned by so do the
The-
signs sit on private property?
The property is owned by the management firm and they lease their spaces where their homes sit. So it's a rental space.
So it's managed by a property management firm.
Yes.
Then is the property management firm responsible for the upkeep of the property? Like, lawn mowing, and I assume they do snow removal and stuff like that, but the private drives.
Typically, we work with the inhabitants as they are allowed to install decks and overhangs and things of that nature. So we will work with the owners of the different mobile homes if they have different property maintenance violations. But in some instances, we also work more with the property management firm. And we're always letting them know when we have property maintenance violations so that they can be kept in that communication with the city. Just to keep open lines.
Just seemed to be a marked difference between this manufactured home park and the one that's down by Snow, I'm sorry, I don't know the name, Snow White Laundromat, so. just- Sign seemed to be the best spot.
yeah, I think where the signs are is a good location.
Yes.
I don't know what would be a better location. Katie, did you have something else you wanted to say? Okay, Diane, I think you had a question or a comment. Begin by stating your name and address, please.
Thank you. Diane Wolf, 910 Orchid Place on Alaska. Thank you for recognizing me. Quick question for Katie. The rendition that they have on page 15, is that what we think it will look like?
Yes, the only part that I'm actually questioning is whether or not there's lighting.
Okay,
And it is possible that they can change the text and the face of it. But at that point, it would still, they would have to meet every aspect of the size of the sign, however large it can be. They'd have to meet every code requirement. The only deviation that they're requesting at this point is just the side setback.
Okay, and considering that this is in second district, this would be a huge improvement. And if you note the Lake Onalaska Live Life, Live It Here, I think they're kind of updating their vibrant, motto too, like, so it's kind of continuing through. So yeah, this is great. Well, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments from anybody? Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve with 3 conditions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Brings us to item 6, adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
We have a motion on the floor by Eric Archer. It's been seconded by Leanne Stokes to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? No, the time is 7:27.